Welcome to Rebels in Flux. My name is Chris Netto. I am joined today by Mr. Monte Bennett of Barco.
Hello, Chris.
How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me today.
Excellent. We've known each other for a little bit. I have hung out with you many a times. What is your official title over at Barco?
Director of Distribution.
Director of Distribution, and happens to be that I work for a distributing company,
Hey.
so we get to hang out even more now.
Convenient.
That's absolutely. So I'm happy to have you on episode 3 of Rebels in Flux, which is our brand new podcast. And I do have my trusty questions, so
All right.
I'm going to hit you with some questions that the audience hopefully would like, and we get to know you a little bit better.
Awesome.
You are a born and raised Texan, and we happen to be in Texas.
Yeah, for sure.
You've been here all your life.
44 years.
Wow. And any intentions of getting out of here at some point?
I feel like I've almost had enough of Texas. I've enjoyed the state in many different ways. Everywhere from, up the Panhandle where I was born and went to Texas A&M for school. I've lived now in Dallas since 2005.
Do you own a 10-gallon hat? Let's go to
I do
stereotypes.
not.
So no 10-gallon hat.
Nor a horse.
Or a horse. You
Yeah.
don't own a horse.
No.
Do you have any cowboy boots?
Well, actually, no.
There
I
you
don't.
go. No custom. So you're not really a cowboy. So there goes all my questions. So let's.
Everything for a man from New York has to think about those of us from Texas.
That's it. I just hit every stereotype while we're at it. So let's get into the meat of why we're here. We're actually at doing an event together here in Houston. So I wanted to go in and ask some questions regarding Clickshare, which is a product you guys have been doing for a long time. I know it well. So let's start off by talking about Clickshare and how, or basically what is Clickshare and what does it mean to collaboration today?
That's a great question. I mean, Clickshare originally, the first introduction to the public of Clickshare was back in Infocom of 2012, and Barco brought out this product that really kind of was a segment definer. Really didn't even exist before we came out with really kind of what Clickshare was. And over the years, the great thing about it has been the fact that Barco has allowed Clickshare to evolve and become something a little different throughout the whole process. There's still that blood and guts of what Clickshare is it's a wireless presentation solution, right? Yeah. But it's developing into so much more. Every year with new stuff, with stuff that's coming in 2020, there's a lot of exciting things still going behind Clickshare.
What's very interesting about it is knowing the history of it, the campfire stories per se. Right. As somebody who spent some time with the Clickshare, as I did, there was always those stories passed down. It seems like it seems like it was talked around campfire as lore of how Clickshare came about. It was through a design think process that we know today as design think, but back then it was a theory, it was a hunch.
Very true.
Can you give me a little bit of the background of how, basically the genesis of how it started?
Yeah. So whenever I came on board with Barco back in early 2013, Clickshare was just coming on the market. So I was able at that point to spend some time with some of the group that actually formed that initial incubator. And it literally came about because of a group of people within our control room solutions. And our control room products can put hundreds of sources all on massive screens in whatever kind of content they want to and where they want to. And they went, hey, I want something like that, but downscaled and for a meeting room application. And so, the folks started, they started figuring out, okay, I need to put this Wi-Fi board on a piece of plywood, and I need to put this other thing on here and a power supply. And they had a group, I don't remember the exact number, let's say maybe 10 people or whatever in the incubator, and they were allowed to work on that project one day a week.
Was there a cool code name? Was it like
probably? Well, it had to be
like Project Pegasus.
Well, since we're a Belgian company, they're always Belgian beers, right? Yeah. It's like that, or I think that's what the code name process usually is.
Awesome. So it's like Project Fat Tire or something.
Right. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of where it started from, and they developed into an actual sellable, marketable product. Yeah. And the rest is history. But we're at
what's
the same
great
time
about that and how that fits into the podcast or the show that we're talking about is the mindset. There wasn't so much can we do it? Should we do it? What's the
right.
It was. I almost feel as if when Clickshare was being developed by that group of people, that it was, we can do it, and we're going to prove you wrong that we can do it.
True.
And that mindset sparks innovation throughout, industries for years. Don't tell me what I can't do.
Right.
Tell me about what I can do. And that can-do attitude, basically transcends everything. From that design think of, hey, it was, written on the back of a napkin, it turned into a piece of plywood with every little component essentially is attached to it. And then going through the process of taking it to people and saying, we have something viable, and pulling out a piece of plywood.
Absolutely.
Saying, here it is.
Yeah. And in fact, I mean, here in the Houston market, where we happen to be today, was actually where some of that initial prototype stuff was actually shown off quite often, just because of Barco's play in the energy companies, in the energy industry. Of those companies already being very familiar with our command and control products and so forth, we came into many of those and said, we have something we want to show you. Let's get some opinions of what you think about this. And a lot of them went, hey, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we could use that.
And that's something that a lot of companies do. I mean, obviously, you have a product, you want to sign the NDAs, and you want to bring them out. You guys were fulfilling something that didn't exist at the time by creating a wireless presentation system. But it was because there was an end user need. Right. And then you guys went back to the end users just to confirm,
right.
Are we on the right track? That's the way it should be done. Yeah. Those meetings obviously led to, a production of a product that didn't exist and set a segment in place.
Yeah, very true.
In recent years, there's only a handful of real market changers, or I hate saying the word game changer for the people listening with the buzz that don't want to hear that word, but there are some products out there that really change things, and creating a segment for wireless presentation was a significant one, because I don't think we would get to huddle rooms if it wasn't for that, because it changed how conference rooms were thought of and how they were being used.
Right.
So that's interesting, because you guys were not just doing that to solve a wireless presentation, but you came out with basically if I remember correctly, the original Clickshare 1 allowed you to see 4 screens at once, and that was unheard of.
Unheard of. I mean, from a functionality standpoint of a wireless presentation system, we spent a lot of time back early in the infancy of Clickshare talking about how it replaced cables. You didn't have to worry about dragging a cable across the table anymore, coring a floor, and these things of that nature. But we very quickly picked up on the fact of we are changing the dynamic of meeting room interaction, and it was all of a sudden it's like, hold on, we're not talking about just the cable anymore. We're talking about the fact that a meeting is actually more productive. Yeah. That people are more collaborative. That people are actually talking and throwing in little snippets of information quicker and easier without disrupting what's going on in the meeting.
Yeah, you're trying to work on that flow.
Exactly. Yeah. Workflow change for sure.
And it's such a key part that many people maybe today dealing with wireless presentation, because after you guys set the market, everything else came behind it. So there's a lot of other products out there, but they're all generally fighting for the same thing. They all want to make life easier in the conference room without passing the wire. Right. And we are obviously from a generation that still passed around a VGA cable or and even an HDMI cable at some point. And the VGAs were kind of weird because you had the pins and the bends and stuff like that. HDMI could have been a little bit more, more reliable. Don't ask Mark Coxon about that. But since we're talking about HDMI, but HDMI did make it simpler in the sense that you didn't have all those possible breakpoints.
Sure.
Just resolution, EDIDs, all those other fun things that came with HD. Yep. So that became an issue. So where is Clickshare today? We know the history. We know the campfire stories. Yep. We've seen the cave drawings. How it's evolved. Yep. So where's Clickshare today, and what does it mean to today's collaboration market?
That's a good question. So, really, with Clickshare now, we understand that people want the freedom to share content the way they want to. So we've recently released our new Clickshare desktop app, which allows kind of those corporate power users that are maybe using Clickshare on a regular basis to not be required to use the Clickshare button. They can download an app to their laptop. If you don't want a button,
stop the presses.
There we go.
The button company just realized maybe there is more to the, I guess, to the presentation outside of the button.
Absolutely. I mean, really, it came down to the fact that some users said, "Hey, look, it's not that they didn't like the button, but they wanted the freedom from being required to have the button."
I get it.
Right.
I get it. Yeah,
so therefore, it's like, well, okay, so we can introduce this, but at the same time, what's really kind of fun is the fact that the Clickshare desktop app works in conjunction with the button as well. So if you're actually using a button at the same time of using the app, there's a couple of extra functions in there that you can do and not do and so forth through the app with the button too.
Personal
So,
preference,
yes.
I kind of like the button simply because I knew who was presenting.
Absolutely.
But the red light indicator.
Right.
But I was, I came from the background of an integration background where, microphone was on, it was lit red, or there was an indication of what microphone was on, so you knew who was talking from the video conferencing world.
Right.
So the similarities there of the light ring made sense. So it's heading down a path of buttonless. What about the actual, you have the desktop app, which makes it buttonless. The button's not going away. Let me correct that.
Never going away.
All right, the button is not, that's your identity.
Yep.
That's what you guys are known for, and so where is the hardware itself going? Because everybody hates talking about hardware since the world is now a software solution.
Right.
Where's the hardware going? Is it getting beefy? Is it getting a little bit more horsepower under the hood?
Absolutely. I mean, throughout the last couple of years, especially with introducing, now we have the CSE 200 Plus in the lineup, which is an advanced version of the 200, different chassis and everything. Not quite the horsepower, exactly. Not quite the horsepower of the 800, but it's got 4K output. It's got an HDMI input. Dual network capabilities, stuff of that nature as well. So we're continuing to evolve that. I really can't talk about some things that we're developing for 2020, but Barco's got some exciting things with Clickshare in the future as well.
Awesome. So I've recently had a conversation. I want to ask you a question before I get into the weird questions that I'm going to ask you, because that's what we do on this on this podcast. Clickshare being enterprise grade. Right? Enterprise is kind of a weird conversation piece for AV.
Yeah.
It's usually typically saved for the IT conversations.
Absolutely.
Clickshare is enterprise grade. It's built to withstand enterprise.
Yep.
You also have a piece to the Clickshare, which is the XMS. And the XMS adds the enterprise functionality to it, essentially.
Yeah.
So what I'm asking, or what I would like to know more about, is how does Clickshare handle that enterprise title? Is it strictly XMS, or how are you guys building it for the bigger enterprise?
So for years, a lot of what we hyped up about Clickshare was the fact that it was the freedom for the deployer, whether this is a small company or a massive Fortune 500 company, to put products anywhere they want to. If they want to put them on a network, they can. If they don't, they don't have to. All that kind of stuff is there. Now, what we're doing is we're giving folks, especially in the enterprise level deployments, an opportunity to use other components, like with our XMS. They can add that to the system, and then they can monitor. They can do analytics. They can see how the systems are up and running, how often they're being used, how often people are actually sharing in every individual room, and that's giving companies an opportunity to understand the ROI side of the business.
You're
and
drilling
that's a
down
different
to the
story.
metrics and the analytics, and that's adding a component to it.
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
You could put 1,000 ClickShares in a massive Fortune 1,000 company, and unless you know that they're being used on a regular basis,
How do you justify it?
then exactly. And that other components, especially IT components, have been mapped that way and analyzed that way for a long time.
Yeah.
So we had to do something to kind of bring ClickShare to that level, and the XMS platform allows you to do that.
Awesome. We're off to the weird questions, right?
Perfect. Let's do it.
Well, this is not really a weird question. Tell me about September 2012 and why it matters.
Yeah. So back in September 2012 was whenever Starion actually received their first order of ClickShare systems.
There you have it, folks. So
first distributor with Barco for a brand new product that never really existed, and
hey man, I'm just paying the bills.
That's right.
You're right.
That's right.
So September 2012, Starion, the first one basically to distribute the product for Barco, and did some wonderful things.
That's right.
Enough about that. That was a trick question. That's not a weird question. I kind of snuck that one in there.
Snuck that one in.
All right. Next question. You, sir, have a history that I know of that nobody else knows of and I'm starting to get you nervous.
Uh-oh. Oh God.
Tell me about National Championship car audio.
Oh, that one. Okay. Yeah. So back before my time at Barco, in fact, my wife and I, whenever we met, I used to have a history of working in the car audio industry. She dabbled in it a little bit, actually working for a friend of mine.
Cool.
Through college. And when we met, she was interested in competing.
Yeah.
And so we decided to move kind of, it wasn't the sound pressure level, the how loud can you get type stuff, but it was the sound quality side of things. So we had a little Volkswagen GTI that, well, she owned it, and we built that thing up and gutted the interior, completely rebuilt everything almost exactly inside. And there's a couple of organizing entities in the U.S. back in that day that had competitions. Part of the competition was sound quality based, very subjective.
Yeah.
And then the objective side of it was the installation quality side. So you kind of
how clean it was,
how clean, how to the rules and stuff of that nature it was.
Wow, man!
So,
I don't think I've ever met a competitive audio, like car audio person.
Yeah.
But when we chatted about this, it blew my mind because I played with that when I was young,
Sure.
but I never thought of it as a competition.
Like someone could actually do something.
So you
with
actually got trophies.
Yeah. So in 2005, 6, 7, and 8, for those 4 years, we won national championships for those 4 years. We actually stepped up in class every year, even.
That's insane.
So the classes became more and more competitive and more detailed as we stepped up. And whenever we retired the car in 2008, it was literally just the fact that to move up to the next level meant that the car had to become a trailer queen at that point. And you literally had to, literally gut the entire inside. You would have to rebuild the dash, the doors, start over with nothing but a shell. And we didn't have the time or money to do that at that point.
That's such an interesting factoid about you, man. Did you get to the point where the audio, and I'm sure somebody's thinking this right now, did you get to the point where the car audio was worth more than the car itself?
Oh yes.
I quickly ramped up.
Oh yeah. The car was a 2000 model Volkswagen GTI. Nice little hot hatchback, right? But by 2008, whenever the last iteration of the system that went into it, it was a factor of almost 3 to 1 as far as what the product and about 500 hours worth of installation time would have cost versus the cost of the car. So
wow, man. I could go on all day about.
But that was the great thing there was the fact that we as we worked our way up, we became sponsored. We worked with a manufacturer based out of France who was supplying us equipment, and they were helping us along the way. So we were able to have some of our expenses also paid for whenever we traveled and stuff of that nature. That was nice.
So for you AV people that are sitting there watching this and think that we were all either failed musicians, DJs, failed producers, failed cameramen, now we have championship award-winning competitive car audio people in the industry as well that you may not have known, but you're going to hear about it now. That's awesome. So real quick, because I have to ask a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Preference, Orlando or Vegas for InfoComm?
Oh gosh. Can I answer neither?
Okay, where do you want to go? New Orleans? Where would be your ultimate place to have a trade show then?
I have no idea.
It's either dry heat or humidity, man.
Yeah, exactly. Both of them are just hot and miserable during that time of year. Whenever you're outside, and I get that. I think honestly, the thing is for me, the Orlando side doesn't necessarily have the nightlife and the fun things to go do like Vegas does, but Vegas to me also feels a little bit fake because it is built up to capture attention span for like a 5-year time frame, then they tear stuff down and rebuild it again. And I'm one of those people, like I really enjoy things that have stood the test of time. Yeah. And besides that, whenever I go out and my PTO time is out in the wilderness. It's out in the vastness of the West. So I guess my answer would be Vegas, just because whenever I fly in, I get to see the mountains off off in the distance and so forth. So
Good answer. I
There you
choose
go.
Vegas too because I kind of like the pseudo fakeness of it. I want to pretend that I'm in Italy,
Right.
And walk
Yeah.
across the street and be in Paris.
Right, exactly.
All right, final question, man. There's another interesting thing about you. You are somebody who attends music festivals, and specifically, you go hang out at a very popular one and do your part to help that community type thing. Tell me about what you do or what your involvement is at the Burning Man Festival.
Gotcha. So, first off, understanding a little bit about Burning Man. It's actually not a music festival.
Well, it was at some point. somebody
Really, it's
refers to
never really been.
It's art.
It is an art happening. It's really a experimental community of people
Okay.
who are existing in an extremely harsh environment. Burning Man is up in the northwest corner of Nevada, out in the Black Rock Desert. Comes up, that piece of land is rented from the Bureau of Land Management for, I don't know, maybe a couple of month period, so that the Burning Man organization can do what we do out there.
Yeah.
But it's literally a patch of dirt. It's a playa. It's a 10,000-year-old dried up lake bed, and we build a city from the dirt, and 70,000 people come out there for a week to have a good time, to experience things, to experience art, to be able to and the artwork out there. Some of it's small, some of it is massive.
Yeah. Some of it is what we do with technology.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I have seen numerous installations out there, even with projection mapping. Those kind of things blow my mind out there because I'm like, it is the dustiest place you've ever seen in the world. How in the hell are they possibly having
It's like the proving
projectors?
ground. It's like the salt flats.
That's it. If it can make it through that, it can do it. But as an experimental community that comes together, there are a host of different foundational things about Burning Man that are that decommodification, for example, and being present in the moment and stuff of that nature. Leave no trace is a big one. Whenever I think of festivals, a lot of times I think about some of the other ones. You see the departure when everybody leaves and the place is just trashed.
Listen, Firefest
And that's
was
not-
not a good example.
Exactly, right.
Let's
Yeah.
not
This,
talk
on
about
the other
cheese.
hand, everyone leaves.
No cheese sandwiches.
And the place looks exactly like it did before everybody came.
That's awesome.
You haul it in, you haul it out. 100%. You walk in, you're not buying a commemorative T-shirt. The only thing you buy once you're out there is ice.
That's you need a lot of that.
And you need a lot of that.
That's awesome, man.
But it's a great time.
I appreciate it. I'm glad that we got to bring out the car audio, the Burning Man, and all the cool other things that I know about you, and bring that out to the community as well. Obviously, you have a responsibility with Barco. How can we find out more information what can we find out more information about Barco?
Yeah, for sure. So website is www.barco.com. So lots of information there. I'd also recommend taking a look at Starin's product page for Barco as well. You guys have a great internal page for all of our product there too.
You know what that was? That was a drop the mic promo. Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Chris Netto. This has been Rebels in Flux. You can find me on the Twitters at Chris_Netto. You can find Starin, the company that sponsors this podcast, at Starin.biz. You can find us on the Twitters at Starin_MKG. This is Monte Bennett. He's from Barco. I'm Chris Netto. I'm from Starin. This has been Rebels in Flux, episode 3. Catch it very soon on the interwebs. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This has been Rebels in Flux.